for political things, and of course a company can afford to spend a heck of a lot more on a person, and as a result, the political situation seems to be driven primarily by those that are wealthiest, including companies. And that takes your vote, and your vote makes it silly. Why do you vote? When, basically, especially here in Alaska, by the time we get to Alaska and our votes are turned in, the decision's already been made. We're so far behind and so small compared to California and other states like that. Let me go on to my number 3. A person does what the others that define it consider appropriate to its position and its relationship to them, such that they can continue to define it. Because you're not defined as a person for once and forever. You have to keep that position as meeting the minimal characteristics a member of their combined self-reflective interrelationship requires of each of them. And that's because there are things that are not persons. I developed this, by the way, as a part of an ethics course that I used to teach before I had to pass that on to the PhDs that we now have here who can do that, because it's a 300 level course. Although we're thinking about changing it to a 200 level course because of shifting currents in what's going on. But it's not a person when it is in intolerable pain that cannot be alleviated without it being killed. That is, we call it euthanized. In this situation, both it and others redefine it as not a person. Why am I saying this? Because, strictly speaking, we can't kill persons. So if we're going to kill it, we have to no longer think of it as a person. And under what conditions would a person no longer be a person? Well, one of them would be if they themselves want to be killed because they're in such pain.
Then no one exactly is like personhood then, because I don't see how being in an intolerable state of pain is, excludes you from personhood if it regards like being able. You can be in incredible amounts of pain and have like a self-reflective.
Both the individual and the others with that person. So I'm thinking Grandpa says, I forget exactly what he said, but he meant kill him, basically, because he was in so much pain. And, I can't do that. He was furious with me. Well, he was convinced he should be gone. He didn't persuade anybody else, at least that I know of, although within a day or two he was dead. And it could very well be that a doctor gave him enough of whatever, that it was the end for him. And it was probably a mutual sense that that's the best care for the individual at that point. But we don't want to say we murdered a person or killed the person. We give it a euphemism and say we euthanize them. So that's my one. But by the way, these are things that are not a person in a context where we really ought to argue over it. So these are each problematic issues. I believe still, even though this was years ago that I put this to web page, if that's what you call it, but we were arguing over whether or not euthanization was something that, remember, we had Dr. Death. Remember, he had a van and he would have people that wanted to be euthanized come into his van and he would kill them. And then I think take them to the funeral parlor. Remember, he was arrested, and I think he's still in jail, isn't he? I don't know. Number 2, it is an intolerable state due to pain or emotional distress and kills itself. That's where we call it suicide. We might not have been in agreement with that person. I mean, I especially think of Romeo and Juliet. My goodness, we're both so young. He killed himself because he thought she was dead, and she killed herself. You know, oh, happy dagger, here is thy sheath. There rust, and let me die. You know how she does. Be careful. Make sure you use one of those special knives where the blade collapses, because you don't want to accidentally actually do that. No, people do this. People kill themselves because they feel like they ought not to continue anymore. It is not worthy of the respect due to a person and does not act within the parameters a person is expected to follow, but instead acts as a member of a parasitic organism on persons and should be killed to protect persons. In this situation, others redefine it as not a person and take violent action against some or all members of the parasitic organism. Currently, we would refer to that as something like Gaza, or not Gaza, I'm sorry, Hamas. I've got only 2 minutes. I've got, 5 more to go. You could read these if you're interested, and you don't have to do the whole phrase. But this is the fetus. This is the fetus endangering the life of the woman, who is the host of the organism and should be killed to protect the woman. And that would be abortion. Next one. Part of a living organism that's not thriving, and the organism is not of sufficient value to the environment of persons to merit a person's assistance. What are these? I'm thinking here in terms of the folks living in a place where they can no longer thrive, they can no longer feed themselves, and so they're dependent on others, such as flights dropping off MREs and other such things in order for that society to continue. Some of those continue to thrive for generations that way. But the question is, ought that be continued? There are certainly folks that feel like you're just making the problem worse. Etc. I do have a quiz question. The other are pigs. I think we should still eat pigs. Remember Peter Singer, if you're familiar with him, he was one of the members of the Great Ape Project, but also is the one that argues that pigs are people too. Chickens, animals you shouldn't eat meat because they have feelings, they're in pain. We don't want to give them lives of, being stuffed in cages with no place, etc. And then the other is rocks. You don't really have any problems with rocks, thinking of rocks as persons. So that's my definition of persons. That what is a person? That's my attempt. You're welcome to give me your thoughts on that one as question 6. And the bonus, how would you improve this course? That's my bonus, not yours. So you still have to do 3 others and still answer that. And the question I had a really good question, and now I can't remember what it was. Dang it. I did have a quiz question. I don't have one posted anywhere. I don't know why. Somehow we ended up missing one. I suppose I could ask, what do you think of the movie, if you saw it, of Oppenheimer?
Yes.
How's that?
If you haven't seen Oppenheimer, thank you.
Yes, if you'd rather, you could talk about Barbie, either one of those, if you saw either one. Or if neither of those were interesting, you might pick something else that you thought was interesting. And remember, our last meeting is on Wednesday. We don't meet on Monday. So next Wednesday we meet, but I will be here at 10 o'clock. You come at 10 o'clock. Some people bring things like donuts and stuff like that. I probably won't because I will have to carry it. Although we have free parking on finals week, don't we? You think so?
At least on Fridays.
Thanks for coming. Be safe out there. Don't fall. How's your sister, by the way?
Oh, she's holding up. She has a cast around her leg and all that.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That means crutches.
Yeah, she has to wear it for like a month.
This is not the best season for crutches.
Yeah. And of course, she still has to go to work because the work is in like the little like office she works at compensating her. So it's like, okay, she has to go to work now. It's like a cast and a crutch. But you know, I've been trying to, but I've been taking care of her. I've been accommodating her.
That's good stuff.